child, lost in the fog, and I'm frightened of meeting all you known unknown.
Hello and welcome to Poly Risk Reward. My name's Ned Stranger, and in 2024, my wife and I received the results of a DNA paternity test that showed that I'm not our daughter's biological father. Through these podcasts, I tell the story of our open marriage and this unexpected twist in forensic detail, with each episode focusing on a common question I get about open marriage, polyamory, and this unusual situation. To recap where we are in the story, Anya and I had agreed to close our relationship with the sole exception that she could still keep seeing her lover. And for a few months, for the end of summer and into the autumn, this is how we continued until he moved to South America and we just completely closed the relationship. Now, in the winter, in February 2019, we decided to flee England and Brexit and move to Berlin, where I wanted to be one of those stereotype English songwriter guys who's just moved to Berlin. We arrived in the heart of winter and we were starting to make friends. And one of the very first friends we met was this really cool woman who was married with 2 children, but her husband was a lot older than her, and he'd lived through Berlin in the 80s and this kind of open sex-positive scene, and he was very happy for her to kind of explore and talk about this. So Anya and I had a lot of late-night conversations with her over a glass of wine and cigarillos, where we talked about this idea of like non-jealousy and non-ownership, and it kind of made us realize that our desire to date other people was still there. Like, we still had that energy, and there were definitely some fears as well, for the same reason that we closed the relationship, but we were starting to think about, testing those fears. And I think more generally, it was quite obvious that Berlin was a lot more open to this sex-positive, open, polyamorous thing than London had been. So in London, a lot of our friends had found our relationship situation really weird with this like lover. Whereas in Berlin, it seemed completely normal. Like, most people had either tried or were in open relationships. So I think the energy of the city and also talking to our friend made us want to explore it. Now, I said last time that our decision to close the relationship, I think, was a bad decision, but with good consequences. And the reason it was good, I think, in the long run, was that in Berlin, we suddenly had a chance to explore all of this stuff from like a blank canvas. So Anya and I could both come on an equal footing with our fears and our desires and explore them without this predetermined situation that she had a lover. So I think it was a nice way to, kind of step back and look at it all again afresh. And we decided to open our relationship in May 2019 on Labor Day, which is a very big deal in Germany, which has no significance to the whole dating thing. It just looks like a fun fact. And when we opened it up again, I was very clear that this wasn't a unchangeable decision. Like, we could always open it, try dating, see how we felt, and if we really wanted to close it again, we could. So it was flexible. I didn't want to put too much pressure on it, and Anya agreed. And what this meant is we had a period of like dating with like trial and error. So we would do something. If one of us got hurt, we would talk about it, and it kind of gave us a lot of useful information about where our boundaries were. And I think this approach is really good. It's not you have to make big decisions based on definitions. It's like you try it, see where your personal boundaries are, and go from there. And there was one example of this in Berlin where I think the first date I went on, actually, while in the city, I somehow managed to get invited back to this lady's place. And all of that was very fun. I came home in the morning and the apartment was completely empty. So Anya wasn't there and she wasn't answering my messages either. And I was a little bit worried. I was walking around the apartment looking for her. I think I checked in the cupboards. I even checked in the shower cubicle behind the curtain. And it was only around then that she wrote back to me saying that she'd gone to stay with a friend because she felt abandoned and lonely being left home while I was out on a date, and she just had this really bad emotional reaction to it. And so we discussed whether we needed a rule where I could only go on dates where she was also definitely going to be out with friends and vice versa. And this was an example of like one of those boundaries where we weren't sure if that was a good boundary that we should, stick to, or if that was something that she should unpack and not place that kind of limit on me, because it was a bit of a logistical nightmare to have to find these particular evenings. So that's the kind of example. Now, we stayed in Berlin for about a year before we moved to Latvia and got locked down during COVID 1.0. And then the same thing happened again in England for COVID 2.0. And it was only when we moved to Vienna in 2022 that the fun really began with the dating. And this is where we really tested all the rules and how we met our dates and how we interacted with lovers in much more detail. So that's where the story is going next with the next series of episodes. And for now, I just wanted to say, firstly, in the background, I've been writing all of this up into a book, because as much detail as I'm giving in these episodes, obviously there's only so much I can say in, 7 minutes. And I'm going to be going into a lot more detail in the book. So just to put that on your radar, if you're interested, you can sign up to the Substack, and you can find that at polyriskreward.substack.com. And the link is also in the episode show notes. The other thing is, I've noticed a number of people have been leaving 5-star ratings, so thank you for doing that. For now, you've been listening to Poly Risk Reward, and next week, we're going to spirit ourselves to the beautiful and intriguing city of Vienna.